It's 2 a.m. inside a secret bunker somewhere in Ukraine. Dozens of operators are locked onto their screens. Every few minutes, another Russian vehicle disappears from the battlefield. This isn't a military base, it's an assembly line. And the model it runs on? McDonald's. That sounds insane. But once you see the numbers, you'll understand exactly why Russia fears this factory more than anything else on the front line.
In the early days of 2022, when Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the world was watching tanks roll across borders, missiles lighting up the sky, warplanes dominating the headlines. Nobody took drones seriously. That mistake has now cost Russia over $15 billion, and the meter is still running. Ukraine's National Guard spokesperson Ruslan Muzychuk officially confirmed that a single drone unit, one that started inside a Kyiv garage, has destroyed more Russian military equipment than a single drone unit.
One that started inside a Kyiv garage has destroyed more Russian military equipment than almost any comparable force in modern warfare history. That unit is called the Lasar Group. And what makes it genuinely extraordinary isn't its founder, it isn't the technology, it's the operating model. Picture a factory floor. Every worker has a fixed role. Every shift is calculated. Every target is processed like a fulfillment order moving down a conveyor belt. Lasar Group's founder himself described it as McDonald's, and he wasn't joking.
Inside the bunker, teams rotate around the clock. Hundreds of drone missions launch every single night. After every mission, data is logged, vehicles destroyed, equipment neutralized, losses recorded to the decimal. This isn't guerrilla warfare, this is a corporation. The product just happens to be Russian military hardware. But here's the part most analysts keep glossing over. Who actually built this machine? Pavlo Yelizarov is not a retired general. He's not an MIT-trained engineer. He has no intelligence background whatsoever. He was a television talk show producer.
When Russian rockets began shaking Kyiv in February 2022, Yelizarov was home in the Pechersk district, glued to his screen, just like millions of others. But at a certain point, watching wasn't enough anymore. He picked up his phone and called Ukraine's former defense minister. No appointment, no connection, no guarantee anyone would pick up. Someone picked up. Weeks later, Yelizarov was standing at a checkpoint with an AK-47, organizing resources and building a makeshift military headquarters inside a kindergarten building as part of Kyiv's 126th Territorial Defense Battalion. But Yelizarov had something most volunteers didn't capital. $1.1 million in personal savings, and he was about to spend every last dollar of it on an idea that would change the war. The first $400,000 went into territorial defense operations. Then a visit to a unit called the White Wolves operating in Zaporizhia showed him something that shifted everything.
He watched drones being used in combat for the first time. An idea locked in. Now here's where it gets critical, because what Yelizarov did next is a masterclass in unconventional thinking. Yelizarov tracked down an agricultural drone, one previously used by smugglers to move cigarettes across the border. He strapped a 120mm mortar shell to it. We carried out the first use. We were thrilled with it, he told the Wall Street Journal. The target exploded, the footage confirmed it worked. And in that single moment, Yelizarov knew Ukraine had a low-cost, scalable weapon hiding in plain sight. He moved into a garage owned by one of his drone operators and poured the remaining $680,000 into sourcing spare parts from China.
He donated his own personal Starlink terminal for the unit's first real test flight. That drone was destroyed on its first flight. Anyone else might have stopped there. Yelizarov ordered more parts. Then came the innovation that truly separated Lasar Group from every other drone unit on the battlefield. Standard combat drones ran on 2 battery packs, enough for maybe an hour of flight. Yelizarov's team started cramming 12.5 battery packs into each drone. Extra cost per drone, $20,000. The result, a single pilot could hit 16 targets in one night instead of 2. I didn't understand why a drone should operate for half an hour, Yelizarov told Forbes. The investment was expensive, but it paid off. By the way, if this kind of deep dive military analysis is what you're here for, subscribe to War News. We cover these developments every single day.
Now here's the detail that makes Lasar Group genuinely unlike anything else in this war. 98% of its staff are former civilians, financial analysts running intelligence coordination, a woman who previously managed corporate administration, now overseeing operations, drone operators who never wore a uniform before 2022. Yelizarov's logic was simple. Military thinking can be rigid. Civilians solve problems differently, and in a war defined by innovation, that difference is lethal for Russia. So what has this unconventional machine actually produced? As of January 2026, Lasar Group's own meticulously maintained records, logged daily, tell a story that should be making headlines far louder than it is. 2,096 Russian tanks destroyed. Let that settle for a second. Not damaged, not disabled, destroyed by one unit. 3,150 armoured fighting vehicles reduced to burned-out husks on the battlefield.
765 self-propelled artillery units eliminated, roughly 5,500 cargo trucks, the logistical backbone of any military operation gone. Total equipment destroyed over 24,000 units, and the financial damage to Russia's war machine. According to Ukraine's National Guard, Lasar Group alone has wiped out more than $15 billion worth of Russian military assets since February 2022. To put that in perspective, that figure exceeds the entire annual defense budget of many European NATO members, and Lasar Group is still operating every single night. Commander-in-Chief of Ukraine's Armed Forces, Oleksandr Syrsky, stated in January that December 2025 alone brought 33,000 confirmed Russian losses caused by drones at a time when Russia was recruiting approximately 36,000 soldiers per month. The math on that is brutal. Russia is barely replacing the losses Ukraine's drones are inflicting.
Remember what was said at the beginning about an assembly line that runs 24/7. This is what that looks like in real numbers. Russia isn't facing a weapon, it's facing a system, and systems don't get tired. Lasar Group has now been formally absorbed into Ukraine's National Guard, becoming one of the country's first official drone units. It operates within a gamified incentive structure where pilots earn points for confirmed kills, 12 points for a Russian soldier, 100 for a helicopter, 120 for capturing one alive using a drone. Those points are redeemable for new equipment through Ukraine's Brave One defense marketplace. Lasar Group's operator, callsign Phoenix, told The Telegraph bluntly, "It is about competition between units. Everyone wants to be on top."
His unit placed fourth on the leaderboard in 2025. He's already planning to climb higher in 2026. But Yelizarov isn't just thinking about Ukraine anymore. He wants to take this model global, specifically to NATO. And his assessment of Europe's current readiness is damning. Europe has already lost 2 years of preparation for real war, Yelizarov told the Wall Street Journal. What happens is just empty talk, empty words like drones are good. There is absolutely nothing behind those words in their defense ministries. He's not entirely wrong. The European Drone Defense Initiative, a $7 billion program, won't be fully operational until the end of 2027, according to the European Parliament itself. Meanwhile, Russia continues probing European airspace with long-range drones, and NATO's response remains largely reactive. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte said it plainly in Brussels. If anyone thinks that Europe can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. That's the alliance's own leader, saying Europe isn't ready. Yelizarov's closing words to the Wall Street Journal carry weight that extends far beyond Ukraine's borders. Our innovation is our only salvation in this war. The drones will change, as they already have changed, everything on the battlefield. The world will never be the same again. Here's what this all comes down to.
Here's what this all comes down to. A TV producer with no military background, armed with personal savings and an unconventional mindset, built one of the most effective fighting units in modern warfare, staffed almost entirely by civilians, modelled after a fast food franchise, and producing results that have genuinely altered the trajectory of this war. $15 billion in Russian equipment gone, 24,000 units destroyed, and the operation continues every single night without pause. In the coming months, watch for two things: whether NATO members begin adopting Ukraine's drone-first doctrine in any meaningful way, and whether Russia's attempts to field reusable interceptive drones can slow Lasar Group's pace of destruction. History suggests they won't. If you want to understand how Ukraine is sustaining this kind of pressure on the front lines, despite being outgunned in nearly every conventional category, our next video breaks down exactly how Ukraine's military structure has adapted and why it's working. Watch that next. And if you want coverage like this every day, subscribe to War News. We don't do headlines, we do analysis.